Wolves are often regarded as some of the most fearsome creatures in the wild, and approaching them is generally considered too risky. However, allow me to introduce you to a remarkable story featuring a formidable black wolf named Romeo, which may challenge your perception. Welcome to another captivating tale. One of the fundamental distinctions between wild wolves and our beloved domesticated canines is the widely accepted knowledge that wolves are natural predators with a relentless drive to survive by any means necessary. Consequently, it's advisable to steer clear of them whenever possible, for the sake of both our safety and theirs. But in the year 2004, Alaskan wildlife photographer Nick Johns and his faithful companion, Dakota, crossed paths with one of these enigmatic creatures right outside their Juneau home, forever altering the course of their lives. On a brisk winter day, Nick and his dog Dakota were peacefully seated on their back porch, savoring the tranquility of their surroundings when, out of nowhere, a massive black wolf emerged from the nearby forest. Without warning, and before Nick could intervene, Dakota bounded off the porch and approached the wild canine. Aware that he couldn't rush over to retrieve his beloved dog for fear of provoking an attack from the wolf, Nick watched anxiously, anticipating the moment when the wolf would potentially harm his four-legged friend. As the dog drew nearer to the wild animal, Nick braced himself for the inevitable attack, envisioning an easy meal for the wolf. However, something truly extraordinary unfolded. Instead of aggression, the wolf and Dakota began to play together. Nick couldn't believe his eyes. The imposing predator was frolicking like an oversized puppy. Following that initial encounter, the wolf lingered in the vicinity, continuing to engage in playful interactions with Dakota and several other dogs in the neighborhood. Nick was overjoyed and commenced documenting the unique rapport that this mysterious creature was developing with the local pets. Initially skeptical, Nick's wife eventually bestowed upon the wolf a name that would become synonymous with him. "My wife," Nick recounted, who initially disapproved of this association due to potential dangers, observed one frosty morning as the wolf curled up on the frozen lake, patiently awaiting Dakota's arrival. With arms folded and a slightly protective tone of voice akin to that of any mother with a teenage daughter, she remarked, "There's that Romeo wolf again." It soon became apparent to Nick that Romeo was unlike any other wolf. Despite his formidable appearance and keen eyes, the wild canine displayed no signs of aggression. The photographer gradually placed his trust in Romeo, and it appeared that the wolf reciprocated that trust. Romeo soon became a cherished member of the community, known for his playful interactions with other dogs at Mendenhall Glacier Park. Romeo wasn't merely breaking down preconceived notions about wolves held by Nick and others. He was also demonstrating that his affection for other dogs wasn't a one-time occurrence. Initially, people understandably feared the massive black wolf. However, it became evident that Romeo harbored no intentions of causing harm. All he desired was to engage in spirited play with the other dogs, which the beloved pets were more than happy to partake in. Over time, the residents of Juneau grew increasingly comfortable with this extraordinary creature, witnessing a different facet of Romeo's personality. Sensing that the town's inhabitants posed no threat, Romeo began to place his trust in them as well. He would even fetch toys he had hidden away. In an interview, Nick recalled, "One of these toys was a styrofoam float. Romeo would pick it up and bring it to my friend Harry to throw. It was as though he believed he was just one of the dogs." Observing this unexpected side of the typically wild animal, Nick began to wonder if he could establish a genuine bond with the wolf. Much like the connection he shared with his dog, the photographer eagerly shared the captivating tale of the amazing wolf with anyone willing to listen. Recognizing that toys held great significance for many dogs due to their love for play, Nick decided to test Romeo's response to toys. To his delight, the wolf demonstrated a penchant for play, much like any ordinary dog. Nick believed that the time Romeo spent with domesticated dogs positively influenced him, as he began to exhibit similar behaviors seen in dogs. Nick noted, "He clearly understood the same sort of behaviors that we see in dogs." It's possible that Romeo used this understanding to adapt to the local dogs and humans, enabling him to thrive in an unfamiliar environment. Romeo's ability to fit in likely stemmed from his earlier experiences within a wolf pack, where cooperation was essential for survival in the wild. Establishing friendships with the park's canines was likely Romeo's way of ensuring his survival. Despite growing comfortable with people over time, Romeo usually kept a cautious distance from them. The only exception was Nick, who had developed a unique bond with the wolf. However, Nick was always mindful of the fact that Romeo remained a wild animal and should not be treated like an ordinary dog. For 6 years, Romeo continued to grace Juneau with his presence, playing with the local dogs and spreading joy. "We were 3 species learning to coexist harmoniously, and we did," Nick reflected. The photographer could never have imagined that a chance encounter with such a magnificent and awe-inspiring creature would result in a lasting bond spanning many years. During this time, Romeo became a symbol of the community's connection with the wild. Even outsiders recognized the unique harmony between humans, dogs, and the wolf in this small town. Locals would often say, "I'm going to the lake to see the wolf," as if visiting a well-known friend. Regrettably, not everyone in the community shared this sentiment. Some individuals remained fearful of Romeo, viewing him through the usual lens of wolf stereotypes. Nevertheless, for the majority of people, Romeo became a cherished part of the community, and the bond he forged with dogs and humans was an extraordinarily rare and beautiful thing. Tragically, in 2010, disaster struck. For every person willing to embrace harmony with the unknown, there is someone who prefers to eliminate what they find unusual. This was Romeo's unfortunate fate. After years of avoiding deliberate attempts on his life, including traps, roads, illegal hunting, and even poisoning, Romeo was fatally shot by 2 residents of the town he had come to love. The 2 men were arrested and faced fines, probation, and temporary suspension of their hunting and fishing licenses. However, these penalties could not bring back the wolf who had lovingly given himself to the community of Juneau. The people of Juneau were heartbroken. The nature reserve would no longer be graced by Romeo's presence, delighting dogs and children alike. The only solace was that Romeo had lived well beyond the typical lifespan of a wolf, nearly tripling it. Upon hearing of Romeo's passing, the community decided to hold a memorial in his honor. They crafted a special plaque featuring Romeo's likeness, ensuring that anyone visiting the town would understand how much this remarkable animal meant to them. While the plaque could never replace the real animal, it served as a reminder that Romeo would never be forgotten. To this day, the plaque stands in Juneau, bearing the inscription, Romeo 2003 to 2009. The spirit of Juneau's friendly black wolf lives on in this wild place. Nick also penned a book titled A Wolf Called Romeo to share the story of this extraordinary creature. While Romeo's tale had a bittersweet ending, he lived his life to the fullest and touched the hearts of many, changing people's perceptions of wolves as vicious creatures. What an incredible legacy he left behind. Not every story concludes happily, but each carries an essential message. Romeo's story reminds us not to judge based on appearances alone. We can only hope he is now enjoying boundless play with as many dogs as his heart desires, wherever he may be. If you found this story moving, please show your support by liking and subscribing. I look forward to bringing you more amazing stories in the future.